Hey you guys, and welcome to my channel, and assalamu alaikum to my Muslim subscribers or viewers. The best way to go no contact. There is definitely a better way to go no contact. Okay, first of all, congratulations that you're going no contact. Okay, but there is a better way to do that, and in this video I'm going to share with you those tips. So first of all, you need to be informed. All right, you need to be informed. A relationship with a narcissist and a breakup with a narcissist is not like a regular breakup between two mature adults that determine, you know what, for whatever reason, we're not compatible. We both can agree, or even if one person doesn't agree, there's enough emotional maturity, there's enough empathy, there's enough respect to amicably cut ties and, send each other away in kindness, right? This doesn't happen when you break up with a narcissist or when they break up with you, and we call that the discard. If you're the one that breaks up with them, chances are you will cause something called a narcissistic injury because they're very ego-driven, and this person will get infuriated because, they always put themselves on a pedestal above you, and how dare you create a boundary? How dare you do what you need to do for your peace of mind and your safety, right? So being informed is going to be number one, because you cannot approach this ending. All right, we cannot approach this ending like you would with a person who's not a narcissist. So the more that you can learn about narcissistic abuse is going to be imperative. And this channel is definitely a good resource. And through the years, this is a buzzword. Everybody's talking about it, although everybody is not correct. Okay? And so just be mindful about your sources and who you're listening to, honestly, because there are a lot of narcissists in the community pretending to be empaths on top of that. So, I see all types of stuff going on, but getting informed is going to be your first thing, because you're not going to know the best way to handle it if you don't even really have a good idea or really clearly understand what you're handling to begin with. All right. And that's why you might hear people say things like, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Like, you're completely unprepared for this person. And then it's going to completely put you on the defense all the time to their offense. All right. So get informed, you guys. All right. Number two, the best way to go no contact is going to be by putting yourself first. You can't, this isn't the time for niceness. You can't, what is the best way to break up with this person? The best way for them. It needs to be the best way for you, period. And a lot of times people who have been in these relationships are so used to putting other people's needs before theirs, and there may be a lot of shadow work that needs to be done with being able to properly protect themselves and not even put themselves in these vulnerable situations to begin with, but also a lot of renewing of the mind when it comes to saying no, when it comes to being firm, and even having to get aggressive in a certain way, and really set that boundary with someone when you need to. There may be something wired even from back in someone's childhood where they got in trouble every time they defended themselves, or they made a healthy boundary, they got in trouble, and that might have trained them over time that this is bad, this is wrong. And that could be subconsciously playing out, but this is the time when you want to be the best way. Okay, the best way of going no contact is always putting yourself first. Yourself, not their feelings, not, anything in regards to their needs. It's putting yourself first, period. Okay? So the next best thing, or best way basically of going no contact, is to not look back on them, look back on the lessons, which we're going to take with us. All right? Because when you keep looking back on them, it's re-triggering you into something very negative. Because chances are, in these type of relationships, all types of toxic ties are being had. There's trauma bonds going on here. Sometimes there's a soul tie. If sex was something going on here. So yeah, so you have, you know, connected yourself to this person spiritually, honestly, and your flesh has gotten used to it, even if it was non-sexual. And I'm talking about the trauma bond right now. And it's an addiction that has been created that now needs to be broken. And looking back on them is just like an alcoholic looking at a bottle of liquor, a drug addict looking at a piece of drug. That's going to become tempting. All right, that's going to become tempting. So usually when people are trying to break addictions, they don't want to look back on stuff. You know, they don't want to be around it. So we're not going to be looking back. Just take the lessons, all right? And this is a good way to start reframing the story and to pull yourself eventually out of victim mentality, because initially you're going to feel victimized, but you don't have to stay there. Again, you will feel victimized. You will feel like a victim initially, at least for most people. There are some exceptions. But you're nobody's victim. Although they tried to victimize you or they did victimize you, that still doesn't make you a victim. The simple fact that you're leaving is actually putting you in empowerment. Or if you weren't the one that left and they left you and you're allowing this and you're going to continue this no contact, then it's still you taking control of the situation as well. Because they expect you to come running back. They expect you to feel bad about this. They expect the trauma bond and the soul ties to be running the show here. You know, we're applicable. All right. So we're not looking back on them, but we're taking the lessons. All right. And although, again, someone tried to victimize you, you're nobody's victim. So the next best way to go no contact, you guys, is to be very confident about it. All right. Anytime you are hesitating about it, leaving one foot in and one foot out type of situation, it makes you very vulnerable and susceptible to being drugged back in. And these people, all they need is a crack. All they need is that little bit of hesitancy into you to be able to turn the situation around somehow. So get it in your mind that there's no other way, that this is absolutely what it must be and it will be. And that's it, period. It has to be, period. Okay? Period. The next best way, you guys, to go no contact is to definitely fill voids. Now think about it. If you were filling your day, this person was love bombing you all day, you guys were messaging and talking all day, or you're used to these, you created these patterns of, you know, being with them at this time and that time, and we always did this on Fridays and then that. Now we need to fill the voids. So we're not going to just take something out of our lives and not fill a void with it. Like psychology shows us time and time again, you know, humans, we're not good at that. We have to put something else in its place. And that's exactly what we need to be doing here. All right. So fill the voids with something else, but the whole goal is that something else should not be toxic. All right. Or else you're replacing one problem and starting another or picking up another. Okay. So filling those voids with something more, whether it's working out, whether it's coming into a community to support you. All right. Or starting therapy, or tapping back into the parts of yourself that you lost when you connected to this relationship, your hobbies, your interests, your goals, which might have fell by the wayside, or, you know, anything like that. Just start filling those voids, you know, and it could be so simple of, you know what, I was texting the narcissist, now I'm texting my sister, you know. If you have someone in your life that you can trust and that loves you and has your best interest, you know, you should do that. All right. So work on filling the void, you guys. so that you don't have the idle time, because idle time can set you up. All right, so let's not put ourselves in too much of idle time. And I'm not saying you have to be like nonstop all day, you never get a moment to yourself, but just, filling those voids that you were filling with them, with someone else. That doesn't mean I was sleeping with the narcissist, I need to go run sleep with someone else. Use your emotional maturity when I say fill those voids, okay? In a healthy manner. All right. The next way, you guys, to go no contact, keeping up on your self-care, because, I ain't gonna lie, when people go no contact from these narcissistic abuse relationships, a lot of times they feel like they done hit rock bottom. They might even had already been battling with depression, or they might feel that energy trying to seep into them. And when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel disappointed, when you feel betrayed, these people are energy vampires where you feel drained. It's like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to take a shower. I don't even want to eat, or I don't, like, you just, you start letting yourself go. And honest with the best way, obviously, the best way, of course, to go no contact is to keep your self-care up. Get up, take a shower, because showers, they're very spiritual. You could look at it as, I'm washing that energy off of me. I'm washing that cycle off of me. I'm washing that negative day or that negative moment. I'm purifying, I'm cleansing. Showers are beautiful and amazing. And, not just for bodily cleanliness, but spiritual cleansings as well. So keep up your self-care, and you're going to feel better too, And if you need physical touch, you can go to the spa and get a foot rub if you can afford it, You can find healthy ways. You can hug your cat. You can love on your kids, There are things, there's all types of stuff, Go give your parents a hug. So, keep your self-care up. Wash, do your hair, care about how you're walking out the house. Continue to go to the gym. Those endorphins will actually counter, you'll release hormones, dopamines, which are feel-good hormones. So just keeping up with your self-care. Incorporate new stuff if you haven't. Journaling, writing is a beautiful way to release energies, negative thoughts, or just keep track of where your mind is. And as you go through the healing process, you can go back and read those entries and be like, wow, like I've come a long way mentally. Look at the day I had and look at how I am today. So just let's keep the self-care. And if that's something that you need to research, do it. We're in an age of information. It's just that it's so much information. Just watch the information that you take. Okay. Vet that information. Okay. But I'm sure you could Google, what is self-care? What are things I can do for self-care? They'll give you all types of ideas, whether it's going into therapy, getting coaching, get that self-care, invest in yourself. All right. Because that narcissist, I know they had you investing in them. They wanted that whole relationship to be about them. All right. Self-care. The best way to go no contact is to continue your self-care. Now, the next best way to go no contact is not to worry about what other people think, because there will be flying monkeys. These are the people that do the narcissist work, side with them, gang up on you, gang stalk, gang harass, the internet bullies, and, they're just tough with the keyboards, right? Might not have never even said nothing to your face, okay? Or people playing on your phone, or people, the narcissist running and smearing you to anybody that will listen, honey, child. This is the time when you have to understand that chances are you dealt with this person in a way that none of them had. And where they guarded their image with those people, you were the safe space where they could actually be who they actually are. Nasty, rude, abusive, manipulative, emotionally immature. So don't worry about what others think, because you know the real version. Don't worry about it. The only time, Of course, if it's a legal situation, speak up. But I'm talking about this high school gossip and stuff that be happening, you know, and things that happen to celebrities. You know, celebrities get talked about all day, every day. People make money off of making up rumors about celebrities. But you're like, well, sometimes these usually people that don't even know the celebrity. That's true. But sometimes it's people that do. They couldn't get money from the celebrity, so they gonna write a tell-all book and, you know, stretch the truth, make up this, say that. People will do anything for money and attention, as you can see in this age of information. Okay, so worrying about what other people think, you don't need to do that, because you were there live and direct. There's no gaslighting. There's no Stockholm syndrome that are gonna, you know, have a strong hold on you to where you're not living in the reality and the truth of things. So the best way to go no contact for sure is not worrying about what others think. Because guess what? They're not the ones dealing with that abuse or had to deal with that cycle of abuse or however many cycles of abuse it was. So the next best way, you guys, to go no contact, of course, is going to be through prayer and meditation. Child, narcissistic abuse is very spiritual. You need Allah. You need God. You know, Allah is God in Arabic. All right, just for those of you who don't know. You need God more than ever. Narcissistic abuse is definitely a spiritual attack. So prayer, meditation, these things keep you grounded, keep you tapped in the source. And through these quiet moments of meditation, you know, that stillness might actually allow you to hear God's voice even more clearly. It's giving you the moments to be able to do that, and it's arming you. These prayers are arming you against possible evil eyes or, you know, this narcissist trying to ill will your life. You are countering it with prayer after prayer after prayer after prayer. All right, so staying prayed up is a real thing. People not saying this for nothing. You stay prayed up. Keep yourself covered. Make your alliance clear. And, you know, allowing for that meditation to calm your mind, to recenter yourself. Allowing for that prayer to calm your mind and recenter yourself. All right. The next best way, you guys, to go no contact is definitely going to be managing your thoughts. We have a lot of thoughts every day. They were saying like, what, 65,000 thoughts? All right. But what I can tell you is every thought that you think is not yours. Every thought that you think, it is not yours. So it's going to become very vital for you to know whose voice it is. Let's say you suffered a lot of verbal abuse and you keep hearing all of the insults that this person used to tell you. You're stupid, you're ugly, nobody wants you. All of these things are just hitting your mind. Those aren't your thoughts. That's that person's thoughts running through your mind, you know. And we're going to deny those thoughts. But just having the self-awareness to know, like, wow, this person's thoughts are running through my mind. You know, they could be somewhere literally thinking that, and you could be hearing it. Like, yeah. So managing those thoughts when you hear them by denying them and redirecting them, saying, you might as well stop. I'm never going to believe that. Quit trying to whisper that in my ears. Quit trying to send that my way. You know, managing these thoughts by kicking them out. Kicking them out on their butts, okay? And knowing that that's not your voice. Because sometimes people don't have the self-awareness or the emotional maturity enough and the understanding of spirituality to know that these thoughts are not theirs, okay? The next best way, you guys, and, you know, replace it with something positive. That was the other part I don't think I mentioned. Replace it with something positive. You're stupid. No, I'm intelligent and divinely made, okay? You know, something like that. So manage your thoughts and understand whose thoughts are whose. And, you know, the worst thing we want is for our mind to become our enemy. You know, when our minds become our enemy, like, we make all types of weird decisions. And it disrupts our life, destructs our lives, okay? So we don't want that. We're going through enough as it is. But going through it with our eyes wide open, going back to number one of being informed, managing these thoughts, okay? All right. The next best way to go no contact is by building a support system, of course. You know, get people, a lot of times people suffer in silence, and I understand because I'm introverted myself and I don't have a bunch of friends, nor do I need a lot of friends, and I'm okay with that. But building a support, but you're also talking to someone who understands narcissistic abuse. But even with that, it's nice to have one person I could talk to, and even if you feel like you don't have that person, hire them. Hire them. You can get into therapy, you can get into counseling, you can get coaching, you know. Build a support system though. All right, but it shouldn't be anyone on their side of the fence, because they're just going to run back and tell your business. And then make sure they haven't converted the person on your side of the fence to their side of the fence as well. So use your emotional maturity about it. And building a support system doesn't have to mean someone to run and tell your business to. It could also mean someone that you can just have positive moments with, positive conversations with. So, hey, how's your day? How you doing? I'm good. Even if you don't want to talk about that moment you had, you can talk about other things, or someone you share a hobby with. So building that support can look all kinds of ways, not just somebody to vent to. It's just people who add to the happiness and fulfillment of your life, even though, of course, you're responsible for getting it up to an adequate way, but they'll help it overflow. Or, you know, they're making positive deposits into you, you're making positive deposits into them. This is a very healthy exchange. So building a support, and you might be a support to them, you know? So building your support, you know, and it's great coming into a community as well, a lot of times, as long as it's not the kind of community that perpetuates victimhoods and everyone's just staying in that victim mindset. Be careful about that, because we don't play that around here. We're nobody's victim, period. So yeah, build your support system. This one right here is really serious. Yeah. Another best way to go no contact is safely. Yeah. Safely. And I'm really hoping you guys made it. Let me know if you made it to this part of the video. So many people have been, you know, unalived by their spouse, by their ex, you know, by a narcissist that went off the cliff, okay? So safely is going to be important, which means quietly when you can. And this goes back to number 2, putting yourself first. You don't have to announce all the... That's why I'm leaving you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Like, this is a spiritual attack. You're at war right now. You don't give the enemy no heads up. You don't give them the chance to intercept you, to, you know, we're not giving them that, okay? So say less. Plan your safe escape. You know, whether if you're living together, whether it's when this person's at work, you know, plan your safe escape. Whether you have to call the cops while you're doing it, plan your safe escape. If you have to just go with the clothes on your back, plan your safe escape. And never put anything past these people, because, again, don't bring a gun. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight type of thing. A lot of times people have underestimated what these people will actually do. And that has put them in, I mean, they're narcissists, but they wouldn't do this, they wouldn't do that. They're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Never give a narcissist the benefit of the doubt. All right, so safely is always going to be best, okay? Forget those designer clothes, designer purse. Forget the material. Your life is more important. You know, I can't, you know, how many people have lost their life just needing to get something material, needing to do this, taking too long to get out of there, you know, and going back to not looking back on them, just taking that one more phone call. Well, let's just meet up one more time. Can we just have one more conversation? That can be the setup right there, you guys. Safely. Safely. You know, if at all possible, never by yourself, because you always have somebody else there to call an ambulance, to call safety, to intercept, or to bake them back down, or to interrupt their plan. Like, yes, safely. Safely. Okay? Safely. And that sometimes that does require a level of emotional maturity, which is so tricky at that time because people are usually an emotional wreck. They're not even thinking clearly. You know, they're out of whack here. And then this is when they need to actually be the most clear-minded. Or and then for those of you who got out, you're like, man, I didn't even do the right thing. But that was God covering you. He covered you. He covered you through even not doing the right thing. So, yes, you guys, safely. That is, whew, yeah. And for those of you who made it out, thank God. And understand that once you make it out safely, you still need to be careful if this person knows where you live, if this person knows where you work. Still be careful, you know? Still be careful. Use your emotional maturity. If you need to keep mace on you, if you need to be, you know, I'm coming home, can you guys watch me? I'm coming in the house. Or, you know, just if you need to change up your whereabouts a little bit and not be so predictable with that. If you need to put cameras outside your house, make sure your house is well lit. Make sure, you know, security cameras. Shoot, if you need to get a guard dog, you know, if you need to get a license to carry, like, safely. You want to take some self-defense. People should do this anyway, these things. Safely. I'm so tired of seeing people getting harmed and unalived in these situations. Day after day. And it was that one more interaction. You know, it was underestimating the enemy. So, safely, you guys, I can't say it more than enough. You got to put your ego to the side. You don't need to, because the ego wants to say, well, that's why I'm doing this to you. That's why I'm, put that, we're not flying off of emotions. And like I said, during a time when a person is so emotional. So, man, it's God, you guys. It's God. So, you know, I hope this helps someone. If you're doing these things, you're on your way. Okay, if you take this advice, you are on your way. Of course, there are more things that we can say, but this is definitely the starter pack right here. This is the starter pack. All right, and the best way, of course, I'm going to just, this is a bonus one, to go no contact, is to know about resources for those of you who may have been financially reliant on this person. Know about resources. Know about the resources. There are safe houses for women and children. There are so many. There's nonprofit. There's so many resources. Okay, your local county assistance office you can connect with them, and they will help you out. There are resources, especially for women and children. Hey, there's shelters for men as well. All right, this isn't the time to be too proud. There are resources, and when you're in a community as well. You know, I know in the Islamic community, there are resources, all right? And I know there's resources in other religious communities as well. Although, of course, Islam is a way of life. So, this is a very serious topic, you know. God bless you guys. And everyone that has made it safely to the other side. All right. So I hope this video helped. If it did, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe, of course, if you are a psychology junkie, if you want to learn more about narcissistic abuse, healing from traumas, increasing self-awareness, healing that inner childhood wounds, getting over breakups, getting through grieving processes. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing. All right. And, you know, share it with someone else that you think needs to hear this. you know, that's debating, that's trying to figure this out. Yeah, I hope that this helps someone, okay, you guys? Please take care, all right? Never give up on yourself. Continue to do the work. And until next video.